How are you doing, guys? SmartEntity here. Welcome to Specialized Build episode 19 featuring Excalibur. Now today we're seeing the biggest change to Excalibur to date, with the complete rework done with all of Excalibur's abilities as well as an overhaul of the animation. So that means Specialized build time. So Excalibur is one of the oldest frame along with Mag, Rhino and Loki, and it is a starter frame which is very good because it means it's very user friendly. So get right into the abilities. Now Excalibur's first ability, Slash Dash, previously was a linear attack. Now it actually has a current effect where you don't actually have to line all your enemies together and they just pretty much kill everything in your front line of sight, including those that are, I guess, slightly in the air. So pretty decent. Obviously it is a first ability, so you can't expect to do massive damage, but it looks pretty cool and it got really good animation. I'm really impressed by it. So there, it has a bit of an aerial effect as well. Excalibur's second ability, Radio Blind, is not too much different with this ability. It's just as good as it was once upon a time for crowd control at high level, so your high level defense, survival, anything like that. One thing to know with Radio Blind is you can do guaranteed finishers with this move.
Get ready for a capsule.
I'm in a T1 survival here, so enemies are dying pretty fast. Sentinel are doing, well, pretty much 80% of the work. But once you do get a good blind on a target, you can do a pretty nice finisher, as we've shown here. Now, Excalibur's third ability previously was Super Jump. That got removed, thank God. The reason Super Jump is so useless is because of melee traveling. So obviously, a while back, in an attempt to make melee more useful, the devs created this melee traveling utility, where you can do a lot of vertical moves, a lot of horizontal moves. Horizontal has always been around, but horizontal is actually better since the update so long ago, and obviously we got vertical, which completely makes vertical jump useless. They try to make super jump a bit better by giving that invisibility, stunning, yada yada yada. It was still useless, so hey, they removed that instead. Now we have this Radio Blind as a third ability, which is not as good as it was once upon a time, where it completely removed a line of sight. It's still pretty decent. And come on, let's face it, it does pretty good damage, and for only 75 energy, obviously I got max fleeting, max streamline, so at 75% energy efficiency, it's costing me almost no energy at all, and it still does pretty decent damage, so I'm pretty happy about it. And finally, the biggest change, Exalted Blade. So Excalibur's new fourth ability releases a, well, blade of extreme power. So this blade has pretty decent damage. It does take into consideration all your melee mods, but other than that, let's just have a look at it. So it has its own combo packs. So it has its own combos, but I'll just demonstrate some of the basic uses. So every time you hit melee, it does release a blade beam light projection. Now this projection does decent damage. It does a current effect as well. Well, not so much current, but it basically has a slight AoE, and honestly, it just looks awesome and it looks fun, and obviously you can release it successfully, and it really looks awesome and it's really fun to play with. Now some of the other useful combos that I've seen are obviously the Radio Blind-like effect. So if you do a crouch slide attack, you have this Radio Blind effect, which is pretty useful. The thing to note is, once you do have this ability noted, you do get that 100% guaranteed auto parry. I mean, it does use stamina, but who cares, right? And the best part about it is, even once you are out of stamina, it still works, right? It still do auto parry. Do keep in mind there is a slight energy drain while the power is active, but with a max fleeting and max streamline, the energy drain is very small, and as you can see, it makes you immune to things like knockdown and all that kind of good stuff. It's very good. Now you may notice that I'm basically killing enemies, and that's because I got the reflection mod on. Now this is a specialized build, so I will show you guys the build I have, but with the build that I'm using, it's just so much fun and so good at low level. With high level, it's still very good. In fact, Excalibur now might be one of the top frames for a high level gameplay, but with lower level it's just so much fun. Now other things to note is while you have this power active, you can't really use Energy Siphon to counter this because you don't actually benefit from Energy Siphon while the ultimate is active. However, you can use the Energy Orb, which from experience, a few games I've played since the update, you can actually get more than enough Energy Orbs to power this non-stop just by killing enemies. Of course, I've been mostly doing it at maximum level 30 enemies, so enemies do go quite fast. But overall, it's pretty user-friendly, it's pretty easy to maintain it, and you can use a rage mod on it as well, which you'll benefit from it. But yeah, I mean, at first you may think, well, melee is not that great, but trust me, this is really strong, it's really awesome, it's really good, especially if you got the melee mod to pair this up with. So now we'll just have a look at a few of the combos, just to have a look at what this can do. So the first one is pretty simple. It's just non-stop E action. Okay, so that was Lancing Justice. Now we'll show off Virtuous Blade, which is here. Pretty cool. The third combo is called Cutting Poise, and the one after that is called Equalization. Now, as far as the combos go, they aren't really worth it. They don't really offer damage, extra attacking speed or damage, especially if you got a Berserker crit build on your melee, which I will show off shortly. So as far as gameplay goes, just mashing the E button and using your slide attack, which have that radial blind effect, pretty much will do the trick for you. Now, one thing I should mention is that Excalibur did have a armor boost as well. So before I think it was 65, now it's 225 on the regular and 250 on the prime. Now, you probably won't notice that much difference during gameplay, but if you look at the damage numbers closely, it is definitely there. Another very important feature of Exalted Blade is you can use all of Excalibur's other powers while Exalted Blade is active. So you can use Radial Javelin, which I know I call it Radial Blind here and there. You can use your Radial Blind, and you can use your Slash Dash. Now another very important thing to notice is you can use Channeling while Exalted Blade is active. Now the obvious part is you can obviously use things like killing blow on your melee to increase channeling damage. You can use your focus energy to optimize channeling efficiency. But what you may not realize is you can actually use Life Strike, which obviously will suck life at the enemies and replenish your own. Now that in itself is extremely good, but if you combine it with infinite parry, so that's almost constant vulnerability if you can, look at all the bullets, so it'll parry by itself, stamina aside. On top of that, you can have the reflection mode, which I'll talk about in the build shortly, and at max it'll reflect 96% of total bullet damage. So that's almost infinite damage because it will scale the enemies. And now if you add Life Strike to it, which will pretty much allow you to compensate for any mistake you may have done here and there. So that'll allow you to basically, regain all your life back. That basically just means this is almost, God tier, right? Now I should mention that previously I said while you're in Exalted Blade, you're immune to knockdown. You're not actually immune to knockdown, but if you are, parrying active bullets while the knockdown attack is done, then there's a pretty high chance that you can actually be immune to the knockdown. Alrighty, so we'll jump into some build now to have a look at what's what. Okay, so here I have my Specialized build, episode 19, the Excalibur build. So, as I said before, while you're in Exalted Blade, Energy Siphon doesn't actually activate, so there's no point using Energy Siphon, try to compensate for the energy lost. If Energy Siphon did work, I kind of feel you actually lose no energy while Exalted Blade is active, and that'll make it really goddamn god tier. So that aside, we're going to use Steel Charge, which will benefit the damage done by Exalted Blade. If you're in high level gameplay, you can use Corrosive Projection. So that aside, we'll use Redirection Vitality for your survivability mods. We will use Intensify to put a bit of extra damage on Slash Dash, Radial Javelin, as well as Exalted Blade. We're gonna use your Stretch for the extra range on Slash Dash, Radial Javelin, and Radial Blind. And as with pretty much all frames except for those that can generate energy. So other than Trinity and Limbo, I like to use Fleeting Expertise as well as Streamline, and that'll give you that max energy efficiency. We will use Prime Continuity to counteract the duration loss from Fleeting Expertise, just so Radio Blind is still useful. And here comes the real specialized part of my specialized build, and that's the Reflection mod. So this will reflect 96% damage back to attacker while blocking. So what you gotta do is you gotta look at the bullets that are coming to you in order to reflect this. That's actually quite easy to do if you can filter enemies through a corridor. Now if you look at your high level survival, you got that room where you have those two holes on each end. It basically goes down into a little water stream. So you go into your hole, enemy can only come at you from one side. So that'll guarantee 100% parry. And if you are, reflecting 96% damage, then that's when I kind of feel Excalibur may be the single best frame for high level gameplay, because that'll scale with enemies and that can allow you to do 2-hour plus survival no problem. And like I was saying, on top of your life strike as well as the non-stamina needed for the parry, you are pretty much sorted, right? Alright, so Exalted Blade do benefit from melee mods, and I want to talk about melee a bit in detail right now. So if you've seen my beginner's guide on melee modding tutorial, you know generally there are two categories, or two main categories for modding. So one category is based on the crit berserker build. So for something like Do Iker, where you got very high crit chance, you want to use True Steel for crit chance, and you want to use Berserker, which will increase your attack speed once you land a crit, and Berserker can stack on top of itself up to 3 times. So with something like Do Iker, and if you're high on a fairly high level, not too high level, because without Exalted Blade, melee is still not good at high level, but with Exalted Blade, it's definitely good. So you're gonna, land your Berserker on Berserker on Berserker continuously, and Do Iker will just dance like a freaking flame, right? So it's really, really good. So those are the backbone mods of your crit berserker build. Obviously you're gonna use Fury, Pressure Point. With this you use Organ Shatter. You can use Focus Energy to benefit damage as well as channeling efficiency, and then you can use your elemental mods such as Fever Strike. Now on this particular build, you have Life Strike. If you want to do a max damage, you can obviously use Spoil Strike. Spoil Strike does base damage boost, but it does cause a bit of slow. But because the base damage boost is 100%, it justifies the slow. I don't tend to use it that much because we don't really, play that much high level. When it's a high level, I mean, pretty much over 60-minute plus survival. There's no benefit to doing that, so I don't use Spore Strike that much. And I use a lot of traveling utility with melee, so I definitely want to use that attack speed. So that's one category. Another category is the heavy hitter. So that was a speed hitter. The other category is a heavy hitter, which the Sinnoh Prime definitely is the heaviest of the heavy hitters. So with a base damage of 130, it benefits from a channeling build. So the philosophy is, because it hits so hard, when you channel, you're gonna do 1.5 off the initial really heavy base damage. You might as well channel all the time. So we're gonna use Killing Below to add to that channeling damage. We're gonna use Focus Energy again for that efficiency as well as extra damage. I'm gonna use other mods, such as your Fury, your Pressure Point. You can add Spore Strike on there because you are pretty much gonna hit quite slow anyway, and the Sinnoh Prime doesn't have any traveling utility whatsoever. Using Spore Strike is definitely fine. Other than that, you can put on your Shocking Touch, your Fever Strike, your Molten Impact, and because the Sinnoh Prime is so goddamn good, it has a crit chance of 20 as well, so you can actually put in Berserker and your True Steel as well. And obviously you can use Life Strike, but the backbone of a channeling build is your Killing Below, of course. Now, so those are the two main categories. Now, there is a third category, and the third category is kind of reserved for the crap weapons. So the crap weapons, so something like something really crap like the Ether Sword. So this weapon have very low base damage, and it has no crit. So you can't really benefit from crit Berserker, and it doesn't really benefit that much from channeling because the base damage is so low. So in that sense, what you can do is you can just use your Fury, your Pressure Point, your 4 elementals. Obviously I haven't potatoed this, I got no format so I can't check it in there, but you'll be using your 4 elementals, so Molten Impact, North Wind, Fever Strike, and your Shocking Touch. And then for the last couple mods you can use Spoil Strike, and you can use your 60% do stat mod, so your Vicious Frost, your Virulent Scourge, Voltaic Strike, and your Volcanic Edge, those kind of mods. So that's your melee. Now, from experience, I kind of find that the Berserker crit build benefit the Exalted Blade the most, because
and make the Lotus proud.
on top of the regular energy drain, if you channel, your energy drain is going to be a bit faster. It's not that big a deal, but because Berserker activates, it doesn't activate on the blade beam contact, but it does activate on the physical melee hit. You can do some pretty crazy dances, sword dances with Exalted Blade. So I kind of prefer one variant or derivative of the Crit Berserker build. Alrighty, so let's sum this up. Excalibur 16.9 for low level speed kill. Now Radio Javelin got pushed to power number 3, means it costs less energy, and the fact that it still does pretty high damage, and the fact that it has very fast casting speed, it definitely allows you to get through those exterminate missions pretty damn fast. It's not World on Fire, so we'll give it an 8. As far as high level utility, now I definitely need to do some more testing on this, but the fact that you can infinite parry, you can reflect 96% damage with reflection, and that scales infinitely, and the fact that you can use life strike to bring back whatever health you lost, I kind of feel Excalibur might be the new 10 out of 10 high level utility frame, as well as the best high level damager frame because of that scaling. But because we still need to do a bit more testing, I don't know how well that parry and reflection will actually work, because if you accidentally look the other way around, you might just die to one shot. So we need to do a bit more testing. You know, we are still on day 1 of this, but there are definitely some good theoretical utility, so we'll give it an 8 for now. As far as farming utility, it's not Necros, it's not Desecrate, it's not Pilfering Swarm, but I kind of feel it's above average, just because if we look at somewhere like Satura, Pluto, it does still kill pretty fast, so allow you to reel those credit in pretty fast. Once upon a time, it was the king of Draco series. Right now, I don't think anyone really farms for rep, but it still have a better utility here and there, so I'll give it a 6, just above average. For speedrun, okay, it's not invisibility, it's not iron skin, but radio blind does allow you to get out of a rough spot, and slash dash can have a bit of traveling utility, even though melee does most of the work usually anyway. I kind of feel it's just above average, so again we give it a 6. Now as far as subjective factors go, normally as far as subjective factors go, I kind of give high numbers to the key frame. So something like Snow Globe, which you must have for high level defense, non-infested, and something like, I guess, Chaos, which is pretty damn good for crowd control, or Desecrate, which you must have for high level survival. I don't really give high numbers to, fun powers, right? But with Exalted Blade, it is a very fun power. I want to give a really high mark for it because it's a fun power, but it's also a very strong power. It has a very, good high level utility, so it deserves a high number there as well. So overall 7.2. Now I don't think I've given a frame 7.2 before, and Excalibur with this rework really deserves it. It's extremely overpowered in a very good way, and it's really fun. I just love it, every aspect of it. So guys, please like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Cheers.